In the fair town of Blackpool there lived quite a dish, a one-legged fisherman whose name was Joe Fish. He set off one day from his seaside abode to see Leeds United play at Elland Road. Joe Fish made his living out on the wild sea, but he longed in his heart for an urban lady. He thought that he'd found her one December day when he went to see Leeds and Manchester play. The game was a good one and thrilling to see. Man U were the winners quite obviously. The score was 10-0 and Leeds stood not a chance, but that was the start of Joe Fish's romance. Post-match he was hungry like any young man, so he stood in the queue by the old hot dog van. And there he was fanned by a zephyr-like breeze from the longest eyelashes that he'd ever seen. They belonged to a lady who came from afar, a pink-haired beautician who lived in Golcar. Her nails were like minions, her lashes like fish, and she seemed like the answer to Joe's every wish. Her name it was Lydia, and catching her eye, he quickly whipped out his best chat-up line. If you were a potato, you'd be a good potato. How about we step out and go on a date-o? Well, Lydia was flattered but also confused. Being compared to a tuber seemed somehow quite rude. I'm allergic to potatoes was how she replied, whether boiled or mashed in their jackets or fried. But Joe was romantic, he was not deterred. He would not give up, now his passion was stirred. Your eyes look like the stars that twinkle above, were the words he now used to woo his fair love. Well, Lydia's face was a picture to see. She blamed the twinkling on her strange allergy, but rejection made Joe simply act even bolder. He told her that she had a chip on her shoulder. Lydia's reply was as tough as cement. Have you had some kind of bizarre accident? I've never seen a man with such big feet before. They look like the legs of a dead dinosaur. But Lydia's words didn't dampen his ardor. Instead they made Joe simply try even harder. He held out a packet of crinkle-cut crisps. She held up a card saying, "I'm allergic." Well, now that his love had rejected his gift, Joe's response was both brutal and horribly swift. He'd already ordered his food from the van and was handed a hot dog and chips by the man. He wanted to put his love in her place, so he gave the beautician a chip in the face. He got trapped in a strand of her pink-tinted hair, and she began vomiting everywhere. The hot dog van queue all stepped back in dismay as an ambulance came and took her away. 2 bobbies came up and arrested poor Joe, who was covered in sick from his head to his toes. Meanwhile at the hospital Lydia awoke and found sat beside her a tall handsome bloke. He was dressed in a uniform starchy and white, while his sizable stethoscope gleamed in the light. She saw from his name badge that he was called Spud. The sight of him seemed to quicken her blood. This was one potato that she didn't mind. As he flashed her a smile, she checked out his behind. So here is the moral of this little verse. If you don't want to lose your girl to a nurse, remember that chucking a plate full of chips can destroy the most promising relationships. And so ends the miserable tale of Joe Fish.